Under U.S. law, the CIA and intelligence agencies make the big calls on intelligence. They can only be overruled by the president. Until today. This just changed in a profound way because President Trump has handed off his own intelligence powers to a cabinet official. And it's not one in the intelligence agencies or one overseeing the military. The president is handing off his own unitary powers to a man who increasingly looks like the most powerful figure in the entire Trump administration, and certainly one of Trump's favorites. I'm talking, of course, about Attorney General Bill Barr, who, as of today, may now override the expertise and nonpartisan judgments of intelligence professionals. Now, why does he suddenly get this power, which has never been taken from the intelligence agencies before? Well, I'll tell you the answer. On this one, it's a pretty clear storyline. The White House isn't even claiming this is for national security or a forward-looking policy to serve the public. The White House admits this is all about strengthening Barr's hand and reviewing the Mueller probe. And he is in favor with Trump for saying things about that probe like this.
It's a very unusual situation to have opposition research like that, to use that to conduct counterintelligence against an American political campaign is a strange, would be a strange development. I think there were some very strange developments during that period. That's one of the things we want to look into.
This is not normal. And in essence, it can probably only go two ways. If Barr ultimately agrees with these other intel officials' calls, then this apparent shift or power grab wouldn't change what becomes public. And so later we would look back on tonight and say, well, maybe it was pointless, meaning why do it at all? The other option, door number two, is that Barr overrides them. And then we may be headed for an epic clash between what Trump's own intel chiefs think is required for security and what Mr. Barr thinks is necessary to probe or undercut Mueller. Now, Democrats are upset. Intel leaders in that party say it's corrupt and contrary to how the intelligence community does their jobs protecting this country. I'm joined by former federal prosecutor Glenn Kirshner. You've dealt with a lot of national security issues. You worked for Bob Mueller. Is this a substantively solid idea?
Ari, this is a horrible idea, and your intro was spot on because you could almost see if a president wanted to delegate these sort of declassification responsibilities to, for example, the Director of National Intelligence, Dan Coats. And you know what? Dan Coats, I hope we can all agree, has been maybe a pinpoint of light in an otherwise really dark and corrupt administration. But he's an intel guy, and he is the person who can make these difficult calls of what can be declassified, what can be made public, and what, how we can best avoid risking, the safety of our overseas assets. But to give this to Barr, when Barr has already shown that he is happy to engage in this pattern of saying and doing anything.
To your point, doesn't it short circuit the key fight here? I mean, we have, as you say, Coats oversees everything, right? Then you have 16 intelligence agencies. These battles do go on, and sometimes they're good faith disagreements. But this isn't like getting a second opinion from a doctor. This is like getting a second opinion from Rudy Giuliani on your heart surgery.
Yeah, or it's like, asking your dentist about whether you need heart surgery. I mean, it's mixing apples and oranges, and frankly, the apples are rotten. And what we've already seen is the pattern of Barr saying and doing anything to support the president, whether it's no obstruction, no collusion. And when we look at the Mueller report, that is untrue, whether it's spying when there's no evidence of illegal conduct by our law enforcement or intelligence committees, or whether it's misrepresenting Mueller's findings so dramatically that Mueller has to write a letter.
That brings us to the New Yorker cover. I mentioned this in the top of our broadcast. Sometimes it really captures it. We're going to put it on the screen for viewers. I mean, this is the shoe shining. And the difference in this picture that I'd like you to speak to is Senator Graham and Senator McConnell, they might be criticized by this acerbic cartoon, but they are political figures. They can get on their knees and shine shoes or stand up to the people in their party. They're political. Is there something wrong with Mr. Barr being in that same category given his constitutional obligations?
Yeah, there is, Ari, because as the head of basically law enforcement, as the attorney general, he is assisting the president in weaponizing our law enforcement function. And the whole thing is obviously to help distract the American public from all of the evidence of obstruction of justice, felony offenses that we now know the president committed. So, this is just ratcheting up the danger, and I think it highlights how Congress's sort of timidity and not moving forward is going to continue to inure to the detriment of the American people.
It's well put, and I think it's an important issue. Glenn Kirshner, as always, thank you.
Thanks, Ari.
Hey, I'm Ari Melber from MSNBC. You can see more of our videos right here, or better yet, subscribe to our YouTube channel below. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with us, and we appreciate that.